Welcome to Mishna study Masechet Maaser Sheni Perek Aleph Mishna Gimal. Over here in this Mishna, we're going to speak about purchasing a domesticated animal for Shelamim. So firstly, just a quick as introduction, when you have money, you have Maaser Sheni money, you had fruits that you 10% you separated as Maaser Sheni, you want to come up to Yerushalayim, and you say, you know what, it's going to be a long way. I don't want to carry all these fruits with me. I'm going to transfer over, all this money. It's $100 worth of fruits. I'm going to transfer it over onto, all these fruits onto money. So I take $125, right? I transfer the kedusha onto this money. Now I take this $125. I come to Yerushalayim. When I get to Yerushalayim, what could I buy? So you could buy fruits, or you could buy animals. Now, what kind of animals? So if you're buying a domesticated animal, right? Something that could be brought on the Mizbeach, sheep, goat, right? Then you need to bring this as a Shelamim, as a Korban Shelamim. But if you're buying something that's not for the Mizbeach, you're buying a Hayah, deer, right? Then you're allowed to buy this for regular Basar Tava, for regular barbecue, right? So that's going to be part of the discussion of our Mishnah. So as you're supposed to. The person who goes, gets to Yerushalayim, he buys an animal for a Zevach Shelamim. He's going to bring as a Korban Shelamim that he could go ahead and eat from. Other people partake in it as well. The Kohen partakes in it. He eats from it. Part of it goes to Hashem. Or he buys, there's a Hayah, he buys deer, venison. He wants to have some as Basar Ta'avas for regular barbecue, and he's allowed to do that as well. Yatzaha or lahulin. So let's say he went ahead and he purchased, a cow. Right? He bought a cow. He bought a cow for $1,000. The meat of the cow is worth $400, and the actual hide, that he can make leather out of, that's worth $600. Oh, so he went ahead and bought this. He spent $1,000 on it, right? So now, okay, he ate the $400 worth of meat, but what about the rest of the hide? Is that considered Maaser Sheni status? And now Mishna says no. And Mishna says that the leather goes out for hulin. It becomes regular, regular mundane, leather. Even if the leather was worth more than the meat itself. So it's interesting, right? Interesting case. Rambam points out, well, let's keep on going. If you have jugs, right? Little, jugs of wine that were closed. You had bottles of wine that were closed, right? So you bought a $100 bottle of Merlot wine, and it comes, it's $95 of wine, and it's in a $5 glass, a jar. Okay, glass bottle. So makom shedarkan himacher stumot, if it's a place where they're usually sold as closed bottles, yetzakan kana hulin, then also this glass bottle becomes hulin. It's not considered maaser sheni bottle right now. Ha'egozim v'shekedim. But before we go on, let's just point out. So over here, Rambam, actually points out. He brings the, the Yerushalmi. I also point out just quickly that you're allowed. We mentioned that you're allowed to buy, Shelamim, Shelamim with your money. I point out how Rambam points out that you're allowed to do so. Other Mefarshim, the Rosh actually says that this is what you're supposed to do with your Maaser Sheni money. Rambam says you're allowed to. You can buy fruits if you want. You can buy Shelamim. It's really, up to you. Now, we said the or and the kankan, the leather and the bottle, they go to hulin. So Rambam qualifies this, and he says, when this is talking about? This is talking about a very specific case. When it's going to be hulin, that it's not going to be considered, even the leather is not going to be considered maaser sheni anymore. That's when the person who sold it to you was really someone just inexperienced. He didn't really know. He wasn't a good salesman. He doesn't know how to sell. Right? And he thought when he sold you the meat and when he sold you the wine, right, that all he was selling was the meat and the wine. He didn't pay attention to what the leather and the bottle was costing, right? So he sold it below value, and therefore the leather and the bottle go out to hulin because he didn't really charge you for it. He really only, he basically charged you $400 for the meat. He didn't charge you for the leather. He was just someone who was just a bad salesman. Right? That's how Rambam explains it. Because you really didn't buy it with Maaser Sheni money in the end of the day. But if you bought it from an experienced salesman, Mitagara Baki, right? And he knows what the value of the meat is and the value of the hide is, right? Then in that case, lo yatzah or lahulin. Then in that standard case, right, the hide, the leather wouldn't be hulin. It would still have that maaser sheni status. And this is actually the Yerushalmi says, hada de temar, right? right? It's almost like a Bamid Varim Amurim, right, in the language of the Yerushalmi. B'shayah mocher hediot, right? When the mocher was a hediot, aval im haya uman, na'asa k'mocher ze b'fnei atzmo v'ze b'fnei atzmo, right? Then they both keep the status. Okay, now moving on. Ha'igozim ha'shekedim, right? Walnuts and almonds. Yeah, the actual shell, they go to holin, right? They're useless, right? You're only really buying the inside of the fruit. Hatemid, right? Temid, we mentioned this earlier. This is those grape skins. So what would they do with these? They would take these grape skins after the sediment, right, of the wine, all these the grape skins, the sediment, and they would go ahead and pour water on top of it. Now, what does this do? If you wait long enough, it'll turn into vinegar. Right, and vinegar serves an important purpose. This is one way that they would actually go ahead and make vinegar, in those, back then. Now, if you pour the water on, we'll see in next Mishnah, you're not allowed to buy water with Maaser Sheni money. So right away, if you pour the water on these grape skins, before it turns into vinegar, you're not allowed to purchase it with Maaser Sheni money because you're literally buying water. But once it turns into vinegar, then you're allowed ahead and purchase it with Maaser Sheni money, as we'll see next Mishnah, right? That anything really, as long as it's not, or not really not anything. Water and salt are exceptions, right? We'll see other foods could be mainly bought with Maaser Sheni money. Vinegar would be one of them, but water is not, and water is a